The silver was polished. The turkey was organic. The tension was thick enough to cut with a steak knife. In the affluent suburbs of Greenwich, Connecticut, the Vance family didn't scream. We performed interrogations over fine china. My brother, Julian, was the golden boy, a neurosurgeon in the making. My father, Richard, was a senior partner at a white shoe law firm. And then there was me, Maya, the girl who liked old things. I was 24, working a dead-end receptionist job in Manhattan to pay for a 400-square-foot studio that smelled like damp laundry. But my soul lived in the thrift stores of New Jersey and the estate sales of upstate New York. I had a side hustle. I found mid-century modern furniture, restored it with my own hands, and sold it through a digital brand I built on my cracked iPhone. "So, Maya," my father started. He didn't look at me. He looked at his wine, a vintage that cost more than my monthly rent. "Are you still flipping chairs? Or have you decided to join the real world?" Julian chuckled. It was a sharp, condescending sound. "Dad, don't be hard on her. Every family needs a hobbyist. It's cute. She's like a digital rag and bone man." My mother, Eleanor, patted my hand. Her touch felt like ice. "We're just worried, darling. You're wasting your prime years on trinkets. You're embarrassing the family name. People ask what you do, and I have to tell them you're in between things." I felt the heat rising in my neck. I wasn't in between anything. I had just cleared $5,000 in profit that month. That was more than my real job paid me. But to them, if it wasn't a white-collar profession with a corner office, it was worthless. For 2 years, I lived a double life. By day, I was the invisible receptionist. I smiled. I filed. I took the subway home with sawdust still under my fingernails. By night, I was a CEO. I followed the 70/30th financial rule religiously. 70% of my side hustle profits went back into inventory, high-end sandpaper, and professional-grade stains. 30% went into a high-yield savings account, HYSA, my freedom fund. I didn't buy new clothes. I didn't go to $80 boozy brunches with my college friends. I watched my peers post photos from Tulum and Mykonos while I was stripping lead paint off a $50 credenza I found in a basement in Queens. I was tired. My back ached. My eyes were perpetually red from lack of sleep. But the math was beautiful. In the United States, we are taught to value status. But status is a liability. Cash flow is an asset. By the time I turned 26, my worthless hobby had generated $40,000 in liquid savings. I was ready. I had found a small warehouse in Brooklyn, a space where I could scale. I thought this was the moment. I thought the results would finally earn me their respect. Have you ever worked yourself to the bone in silence, hoping the people you love would finally see your value, only to realize they were looking for a different version of you? I made the mistake of telling them. I wanted to share the news about the warehouse. I walked into their mansion in Greenwich with a smile on my face and a business plan in my bag. "I'm quitting the firm," I said. "I have 40,000 saved. I'm moving into a warehouse." The silence wasn't supportive. It was predatory. 40,000. Julian's eyes narrowed. He was struggling with the overhead of his new private practice. His golden boy status was expensive. "Maya, that's reckless," my father said. "You're hoarding cash while your brother is actually serving society. He needs a bridge loan for his malpractice insurance and his office lease. Your family. You should invest that money into him." I said no. The fallout was nuclear. My father called me a selfish little merchant. My mother cried, accusing me of tearing the family apart over a bank account. But the ultimate betrayal came 3 days later. I went to sign the lease on the Brooklyn warehouse. The landlord, a man who played golf with my father's partners, looked at me with pity. "I'm sorry, Maya. I got a call. I was told you don't have stable income and that the funds you're using are disputed family assets. I can't take the risk." My own father had sabotaged my lease. He had called in a favor to keep me small. He wanted me back at that reception desk. He wanted me underneath them. I realized then that they didn't just hate my business. They hated my independence. In the world of personal finance, there is a concept called sunk cost. Most people spend their lives trying to fix bad investments, bad stocks, bad houses, bad relationships. I decided to cut my losses. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I did something much more effective. I disappeared. I packed my tools and my 3 best pieces into a U-Haul that night. I didn't leave a note. I drove 1,600 miles to Austin, Texas. I chose Austin because the cost of living was lower than NYC, the maker culture was thriving, and the tech wealth meant there were thousands of people with new money looking for old soul furniture. I changed my phone number. I blocked their social media accounts. I legally changed my business name to Aura Heritage. I took Vance out of my professional life entirely. I was a ghost. I spent $15,000 of my $40,000 on a tiny, climate-controlled workspace. I spent $5,000 on a high-end website and targeted digital ads on Pinterest and Instagram. I stopped being a flipper and started being a brand. I realized that in the US, people don't buy used furniture. They buy curated history. I started documenting the process, the dust, the sweat, the restoration of beauty. I wasn't selling a chair. I was selling a story of redemption. Year 1 in Austin was the ramen year. I lived in the back of my workshop. I used a gym membership to shower. I followed the rule of one product, mid-century modern, one channel, Instagram, and one customer profile, high net worth tech professionals. Then, it happened. A major tech CEO's wife found my page. She didn't want a chair. She wanted me to furnish her entire $12 million estate in Westlake Hills. I love the soul of your work, she told me. She gave me a $300,000 budget. I used that contract to pivot. I didn't just find furniture anymore. I designed it. I hired a team of master woodworkers. I moved from service, restoring, to product, or a custom line. In the US, scaling a service is hard. Scaling a product is where the millions are made. By year 4, Aura Heritage was doing $1.5 million in annual revenue. I wasn't playing with junk. I was a vertically integrated design firm. I invested my personal profits into low-cost index funds, VTI VOO, and Texas real estate. I wasn't just making money. I was building a moat. My net worth hit $2.3 million. I was 30 years old. I owned my warehouse. I owned my home. And I hadn't spoken to a Vance in 6 years. If you had the chance to vanish and rebuild your life from scratch, would you have the courage to leave everything, and everyone, behind to find your true worth? Success in the United States is impossible to hide forever. Aura Heritage was featured in Architectural Digest. My face was on the cover of a major business magazine, the disruptor of high-end decor. 2 weeks later, the silence was broken. A letter arrived at my office. A formal, desperate letter from my father's law firm. Julian's star had crashed. He had been sued for gross negligence in a high-profile surgery. His private practice was a $1.5 million hole in the ground. My father's firm was facing restructuring after major partner embezzlement scandal. The Vance legacy was a house of cards, and the wind had finally picked up. They didn't apologize. They requested a meeting. I agreed. I met them in my glass-walled office overlooking the Colorado River. Julian looked gray. My father looked small. Maya, my father said, his voice stripped of its boardroom authority. We saw your success. It's remarkable. But the family is in a crisis. Julian needs $800,000 to settle his debts and save the family home. We're asking for a return on our investment in you. I leaned back in a chair I had designed myself. Investment? I asked. You tried to take my last $40,000 to fund Julian's ego. You called the landlord to kill my lease. You told the world I was in between things. You didn't invest in me, Dad. You bet against me. I opened my desk drawer and pulled out a small, velvet box. Inside was a vintage, restored brass key. This is from the first chair I ever restored. The one you told me was worthless junk. I pushed it across the table. That's the only asset I'm willing to share. As for the money, I've already allocated my liquid capital to my expansion in the European market. I don't invest in failing ventures. And as of right now, the Vance brand is a junk bond. I walked them to the elevator. My mother tried to hug me. I stepped back. I'm not a hobbyist anymore, Mom. I'm a CEO. And I don't do business with people who don't believe in the product. I watched the doors close. That was the last time I saw them. I went back to my desk and looked at my balance sheet. $2.3 million in assets. 0 debt. But the most valuable number on that page was the number of toxic people left in my life. 0. In the United States, we are told that family is everything. But in the world of personal finance, a bad partner is a bad partner, even if they share your DNA. If I had stayed in Greenwich, I would be a bitter receptionist with a $40,000 loan I'd never see again. Because I had the courage to cut the cord, I became the master of my own fate. Your side hustle isn't just about money. It's about leverage. It's about the power to say no to anyone who doesn't respect your vision. Build your empire in silence. Let your success be the only noise they ever hear. Subscribe to RevengeEcho. Are you tired of being told your dreams are worthless? Are you ready to turn your side hustle into $1 million I told you so? You are not alone. Join the RevengeEcho community. We share the stories of the underdogs, the ghosts, and the builders who outturned their doubters and bought their freedom. The strategy. Maya started in her 400 square feet studio, proving the concept before spending on a warehouse. The 70/30th rule. Constant reinvestment is the only way a side hustle becomes an empire. Moving from high-tax, high-cost Connecticut, NYC to business-friendly Texas allowed her capital to go 40% further. She stopped trading time for money, restoring, and started scaling a brand, or a custom line. Subscribe now. The best revenge is a life they can no longer afford to be a part of.
Thanking you for watching RevengeEcho channel. Like, subscribe and comment where you are watching from.